Hi there, Ashley here again, and today I would like to chat with you guys about sexuality versus intimacy. One's not better than the other, one's not more important than the other. Again, I'm not an expert. These are my opinions and based on some personal experience. If you are just stumbling upon this video and not sure what this channel is about, it is about helping those in mixed orientation relationships or marriages. Sexual things versus intimate things. What does that really mean? What are the differences? So, I think one of the biggest misconceptions in general starts from long, long ago when most of the world still did not understand homosexuality, what it meant to be gay. They would use terminology a lot like sexual deviance because they were just craving sex with the same sex, someone of the same sex, and everyone who didn't understand it was so hyper-focused on how the sex was different for gay people. And that's part of it. But so not all of it. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. So I was married to a gay man for 13 years. I will repeat that a lot just for people who might be the first video they see of this channel. And I can attest to how it's not just about the sex from my straight spouse experience, right? So, think of it this way. As the straight spouse, meaning I crave sex with a man, I had that with my gay husband. He had the right plumbing, if you will forgive that synonym, connotation, whatever it is. He definitely had some masculine qualities in his personality, which were things that I craved. And so with everything working down there, and for me, if it was just about the sex, then I wouldn't have been deteriorating. Because my husband and I were great friends throughout the marriage. When we had our shittiest times, we were still within a matter of, well, let me rephrase that. We would still find moments, even within the shittiest emotional climates, of that friendship, of that camaraderie, of that getting each other and sometimes laughing, even with the full knowledge of, oh, we're going through an awful time. Even with that dark cloud hanging over us, we would still find that connection, the friendship part. So we were great friends. The plumbing worked. I was able to have orgasms. He had orgasms. But what we didn't have was the intimate, romantic connection. And it wasn't for lack of trying. And it also was there when we were dating. And then we got married, and it ran right out the door. I can't speak for him on that, but for me, on the honeymoon. So what does intimacy look like? It's cuddling on the couch while you're watching something. It's a touch on the shoulder that is meaningful and connected. It is whispering to each other, and the connectedness is palpable. I have used this in other videos, I'm sure, but it's that one of you is doing the dishes and the other comes up behind and wraps their arms around their waist. But it's not just those acts, it's the energy behind those acts. It's the desire to take part in those acts. There were times with my husband where we would be in public, especially if we were with other people, and one of us would hold the other's hand, and I would just think, why are we doing this? What is this? This isn't a thing I want to be doing. Just holding hands. And it didn't mean that I didn't love him. And it didn't mean that I was grossed out by him. It was just that those moments, if we were ever to do those intimate types of acts, either never came about organically, or when we did engage in them, it felt fake. It felt like going through the motions of what a married couple would or should do. So that's kind of a surfacey idea of intimacy, right? Now, intimacy during sexual activity, whatever that looks like, it's more than just sex for sex sake, which is fine, but in a long-term relationship, if sex isn't connected, it becomes perfunctory. I felt that way. I could describe my sex life with my gay husband that way from the beginning. Perfunctory. Now, having sex just because you want to get off and there's a warm body there, not necessarily perfunctory. But when it lacks intimacy, there's only so much of that sex for sex sake that really can sustain the relationship. Again, I'm not an expert, but these are opinions and insights that I have formed over the last 9 years, which is how long I've been divorced, and how long I have been exploring my sexuality for the first time in my life. I'm 43. We split when I was 34. And so between those ages are the ages where I have had the opportunity to really get to know myself and what works for me sexually and intimately as well. Have I had sex from time to time in the last 9 years just to have sex? Of course. And I've gone through phases where that's kind of all I'll seek out. But then it gets to a point where I'm just bored, I'm exhausted, and I'm not really getting anything out of this that I can't give to myself. Now, I'm gonna get a little explicit. Maybe I can use innuendo because I don't know what kind of, I don't know how rating and censorship works on this platform, but if you just want to have the D in the V, which is a thing, then great. If you just need that, and I have been there, great. I get it. I'm not saying it's good or bad and that you shouldn't. I'm just validating that that is a thing, and I've been there. But after a few years of falling back on just having casual sex when I haven't been able to figure out relationship stuff or whatever, I've gotten to this point at my age and how long I've been divorced and dating and sexually active, etc., where it's like the D and the V can really be on the back burner for a while because I really am at that place now where with time being my only commodity, I want sex to be connected, passionate, intimate. I don't know what that would look like in a long-term relationship for me because I have never been in a long-term relationship with a straight man. My longest long-term relationship with a straight man has been about 1.5 years. And for the most part, sex just continued to get better and better and better. But, I mean, long-term, years, I don't know. And I do know of couples who are, straight marriages, for lack of a more appropriate way to put it, but a straight woman married to a straight man, or a gay woman married to a gay woman, or a gay man married to a gay man, where they do get to the point where, the sex just isn't connected anymore, and then what do? That's not what my channel is about. I am not exploring that with you. I don't have the answers to that. I'm just here to talk to you about the problematic elements of mixed orientation marriages and relationships. So that is just some chatter on what sex is versus intimacy, and why it's not just about sex. The reason a mixed orientation marriage doesn't work isn't just about the sexual component. It's about the inability for both parties, for both people in that relationship to really be invested passionately, to be in love romantically. And that is something that I would say 99% of us human beings crave.